morning, Minister Randy.
Good morning.
And before I go further, I have to thank Pastor Bruce Wall for giving us this platform.
Absolutely.
This radio station has been here for 15 years, and he built it with his own two hands.
Yeah.
And my sidekick, Wes.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm happy to have you, brother.
Yes.
Pleasure to be here.
Yes. So we're going to get right in it because we only have an hour, and that hour goes by so quick. So how are you, Minister?
I'm doing blessed and highly favored.
Okay.
Yes, glad to be here. You know, I like to start off by saying in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, bearing witness to the oneness of God and bearing witness to the oneness of his prophetic community from Abraham to Muhammad, including Jesus the Christ. We thank Almighty God for his merciful intervention in our affairs, the affairs of the black man and woman of America, and raising up for us his messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we thank him for leaving with us his mercy and grace among us today in our beloved minister, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So in their names, I greet you, Sister Priscilla, Pastor Wall, and Brother Wes, and your listening audience in the greeting words of peace and paradise, as we say it in our original language of Arabic, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
And for those in the audience that may not know, it simply means peace be unto you. But I'm honored to be on your program, Sister Priscilla. I want to thank you for a lot of the great work that you're doing in our community, your
Amen.
activism, your fellowship, your camaraderie. I wanted to say brotherhood, but you know we share brotherhood and a sisterhood. But thank you for all the work that you've done, and I'm happy and honored to be here.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Minister, because I see the work that the nation is doing, especially around torchlight recovery. I mean, I think it's just a blessing to have such a organization right in the heart of uptown, beautiful uptown Grove Hall.
That's right.
I get it right.
That's right.
Yeah. So, it's just tell us a little bit about the torchlight recovery and how it all came about. Because one day I was on Facebook and I saw you with all these pictures, and I'm like, well, where's that at? And I'm like,
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, Sister Priscilla, we've been doing this work. When I say we, the Nation of Islam, Muhammad Mosque number 11, you know, we were blessed this past September to celebrate 40 years of Muhammad Mosque number 11 being in the heart of Grove Hall.
Congratulations.
Uptown
Yes,
Grove Hall. Thank
It's
you.
amazing.
yeah, I think I was at that celebration.
Yes. So, you know, it's been 40 years of work of Muhammad Mosque number 11 in Grove Hall and obviously, you know, Greater Boston as well. And beyond that, right, the Nation of Islam's presence in this city goes all the way back to the 50s, right? And so we're deeply rooted in this community. And as a result of that, for many years, you know, we've been doing this work, right? Doing this work as a matter of our faith, going out there and serving our people, working with our people who are in the worst of conditions, in the streets, in the prisons, who are dealing with addiction, who are dealing with AIDS, whatever the issues that our people are dealing with. You would find that the Nation of Islam and members of Muhammad Mosque number 11 have been right there on the front lines with everyone else, trying to help our people. And, you know, we've been blessed to be able to have a degree of success in doing that work. For me, when I became the minister of Muhammad Mosque number 11, after Minister Don kind of was retired, if you will, you know, one of the things that I wanted to do was really expand our capacity to serve our people. And so, you know, we've been doing this work for so many years just as a matter of our faith, principles of our belief. But I wanted to really organize the believers because we have so many great believers that have come from the streets in different walks of life that are walking miracles, right?
Yep, that's right.
Who are people with lived experience, who you know, could be really experts in many of these fields. And I wanted to organize all of those believers and really organize us into torchlight recovery, a way that we can serve our people beyond the religious bounds of the mosque, because everybody may not want to be a Muslim, but we still have something that we can share with all of our people and to help them. And so we came together and formulated Torchlight recovery, and from there we've been really continuing. It's not like we began, but we really continued the work that we have been doing under that umbrella. As you know, we have an aspect of our work that deals with our brothers who are down in Nubian Square, the engagement team.
Yes,
That are out there every day engaging our people and trying to see if we can help them overcome their situation, if they need access to a detox, if they need a program, if they need housing, whatever the situation may be. We're out there in the front lines to engage with them and try to connect them with resources to help improve their condition. So that's the outreach and engagement team. We were blessed to be able to open up a recovery support center right up in Grove Hall, beautiful uptown Grove Hall. It's important that we control the narrative, right?
That's
right.
That we describe it, and big up where we at, because it is beautiful. It's where we live. It's our community, and we have to make it beautiful. So we were blessed to be able to open up a recovery support center there. So we have Torchlight Recovery Cafe that's open at 2 Washington Street. It's open from 11 to 7 Monday through Friday, and also on Saturdays from 11 to 4. And there's a place where folks that are seeking recovery or seeking to maintain and sustain their recovery can come to a place where it's a wholesome place, it's a safe space where they can, engage in activities. We provide recovery circles, different activities that they can engage in as they're trying to maintain their sobriety and also receive support. So we're really happy to be doing that work. And we had our grand opening in July, just July. So we haven't really been there as a cafe less than a year, but we're happy with the work that we're doing.
Yes, I'm happy with the work you're doing also, because it shows that you really care about the community, and I'm part of that walk that we do every Tuesday with the Nubian
Right.
Task Force, and we need to be doing this for our people, because we know that we can not depend on our government and some of these organizations that say they are helping us and working with us. They're really not. And so it's good to see you all out there. And I believe we have a phone call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Peace. Good morning. This is Brother Jamal.
Good morning, Jamal. How you
Good
doing?
morning.
Peace.
Very well. Peace, Brother Minister Randy. I just hope that in this discussion, because, with what y'all have done there, that plaza has been there forever and a day, and with the revitalization and what y'all have done, it looks beautiful. So, I've the whole time I've been just, kudos for all that.
Yes, sir.
If you could, though, if you would, talk a little bit about Minister Dawn and the Nation of Islam's efforts, back in the 70s and the 80s, the original Grove Hall cleanup, if we will.
Yes, sir.
If you could elaborate that, and I'll get off the line and let y'all go ahead.
Thanks
Yeah.
for calling in, Jamal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamal. Appreciate you, brother. And yes, thank you for the alley-oop on that, because I don't ever want to miss an opportunity to represent Minister Don. That's my minister, that's my mentor. Meant so much to me, and for so many years, he was the strong voice of Black Boston. And so their work goes way back. I remember when I came into the Nation of Islam was in 1988, but prior to me even coming to the mosque, and before the mosque really got established up in Grove Hall was really what you can consider like a really open air drug market, where there was a lot of drug selling, and there wasn't no businesses there. It was ran down, and so when the mosque opened up and established it up there in Grove Hall, and we had one of the Muslims that had a business, because that's one of the things that the Nation of Islam always promotes, is that we do for self, to build our own businesses, which is a great story. And Jamal talked about the legacy, because really the Nation of Islam and Minister Don's legacy don't just start with this latest iteration from 1984, but Minister Don been in the nation from 59, maybe 1957, when he joined the Nation of Islam. And Minister Don was an entrepreneur, always had been, and helped to lead the establishment of Muslim businesses throughout all of Grove Hall, right? Back in the first, what we call the first resurrection, under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Nation of Islam in Grove Hall, there was a supermarket, Brothers Supermarket. There was a fish market, barbershop, insurance companies, ice cream shop, steak and take. Like, there was just so many Muslim businesses.
You guys owned the
up
whole
in Grove
strip,
Hall.
huh?
Yeah, pretty much. The mosque had its own school, and so Minister Don really spearheaded that. And so when the Nation of Islam kind of took a little relapse after the transition of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a lot of those businesses were lost. Many of those that maintained their businesses were those that maintained the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So Minister Don was a part of that. So to get to Brother Jamal's point, we had a restaurant, and some of the drug dealers would go into the restaurant and make plays in the restaurant. And when the brother saw that, he, obviously let them know that can't happen. You can't do that at this Muslim establishment. And, drug dealers wasn't trying to hear that. So a battle ensued, and, it escalated to the point where the Muslims literally locked down Grove Hall and kicked out the drug dealers. That was a real battle where literally the men had to clean up that neighborhood. And so from that moment forward, we began to see the shift in what Grove Hall really looked like. And under the leadership and guidance of Minister Don, began to attract economic development and the establishments of businesses. Even Grove Hall's Mecca was really a part of the vision of Minister Don and his leadership and influence in the city to leverage businesses, and even the mayor of the city to invest in Grove Hall and to bring banks up into Grove Hall, Bank of America and One United. So that was the great work, but our work has been in the streets for decades, working with our people. And I want to say that even though there was that battle that ensued, that's not really the hallmark of the FOI. Our hallmark is supporting and loving up on our people, right? And because we come from our people, we come from those streets. And so we want to go back into those streets as examples to those that are still in the streets. And that is really more so than the muscle, more so than the battle. It's our love for our people and the example that we set by living the life of a Muslim, that when those who knew us from the streets look and say, hey, that was Trigger, I remember him, that's my man, he's with them, that's my man Fudgy, or that's, we come from the streets, and so our example and being back out in the streets with the Final Call newspaper, just doing this work, is really what has been
you guys are building a community up,
Absolutely.
Like, just from ground up. Like, it just sounds like a beautiful story of just like trying to like make sure like the next generation has more than like the last one, making sure like it's like safer, especially with like the drugs and just like the recovery, because that's just like a big part of our neighborhood, ever since they put like the crack and like cocaine epidemic coming in, and just like all these other drugs that just got magically appeared into like our neighborhoods. And then it's been hard, and like I appreciate the work you're doing. Like, it's really honorable,
Thank you for saying
So,
that.
Minister, you also were in the prisons for a while, right? You did work in the prisons. You was a chaplain, and you went into like Walpole and.
Yes.
But you know what I found out yesterday? I found out that they're sending people to Fort Devens. That's where the new prison is. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Fort Devens been there. Fort Devens is a federal facility.
I thought that used to be an army base.
It is an army base, but they have a prison up there. That's the only federal prison in Massachusetts.
It's federal. It's not state.
It's not state.
Okay, but I also heard that they're closing some of the prisons, like Walpole, not Walpole, but Norfolk, Shirley. Some of these prisons got closed because they're. let
Yeah,
people out?
let me say this on that, right? So yes, I was a chaplain for about 29 years, the better part of 30 years. I started my prison ministry, and I started my ministry in the prisons, going to South Bay, ministering to the brothers there. I served there for a chaplain for about 20 years, and then from there, I was the first Nation of Islam chaplain that was hired by the Department of Corrections. So I worked in the DOC as a chaplain for 13 years. And so, yes, I traveled throughout the whole state of Massachusetts. And at one point, we were also at Fort Devon, so we was covering the county, the state, and the federal prisons in Massachusetts. So, that in and of itself was a great experience for me because it brought me into contact with our people, and it showed me a lot because I seen firsthand that some of our people who are considered the most incorrigible, beyond reform, the most violent people in our community, quote unquote, with the right information and right inspiration, they have become some of the greatest among us. We've produced a lot of great leaders that have come out of prison, great thinkers, and so that was an honor to be able to work and do that work. But when I started off as a chaplain in the DOC in 2006, I think the prison population was over 12,000 inmates in the state of Massachusetts. By the time I left, the count now is last I checked was at around 6,000. So they done lost half the population, and a lot of great work has been done, particularly around criminal justice reform, which we were a part of a lot of those early talks through the Ministry of Justice. We with other organizations put on symposiums to really educate the masses of the people about the injustices of mass incarceration and how it really wasn't working for public safety, how black and brown people were targeted and were given these unjust sentences. So we was dealing with unjust laws and the unjust application of just laws that were being ill applied or overly our people were being overly sentenced. So with that, a lot of great work around criminal justice reform that actually helped a lot of brothers that were in jail to get out. So now we've seen that number drop. Some of the laws that have changed is like the raising the minimum age of a juvenile. That gave a lot of brothers chances. Brothers that had caught life bids when they were 18, 17, that was sentenced as adults and have been sitting in jail for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. But with the laws that were changed and raising that age, gave them the opportunity to see parole. And many of those brothers are out now. So we have to continue that fight for justice for those that are incarcerated. And I got to say, this is a dangerous time because we know in politics the pendulum swings to the left and then it swings to the right. And so all of the great work that was done under criminal justice reform, but now we're looking at a new administration that's in. And Trump is talking about a new crime bill that he's pushing. He has a new crime, and we know it was the crime bill under Bill Clinton in 1995,
3 strikes you out.
right? That really led to the last iteration of mass incarceration. So we have a lot of work, and I want to say to our people that are listening, we are living in a very dangerous time. Again, given what the current administration is talking about, one of the things that the president said is he has declared the cartels to be terrorists. Right, he put and he's going to war with the drug cartels who are pushing fentanyl. Well, one thing that our people got to know is now for the brother on the corner who's hustling and selling drugs. Now, if you're selling drugs and your drugs are coming from the cartels, then guess what? You fall under being a terrorist. And you remember that when under the war on terror, when the target were Muslims, and if you were identified as being someone who was a terrorist, then they would bring you and you wouldn't have no rights. That's where they were shipping Muslims to Guantanamo Bay, and they was interrogating them, torturing them, and treating them horribly. And so now that Trump is talking about the drug cartels being terrorists, so then that means that our folks or folks that are involved in the trade of drugs, if they're coming from the cartels, then ipso facto, then you are working with a terrorist organization, and so you're putting yourself in danger of losing your rights and your citizenship. So we have to really educate our people because, again, when I look at the president, the current administration, and they're talking about wanting to deport all of the illegal immigrants. Well, we know most of the immigrants who were in this country were recruited here by corporations that didn't want to pay union wages, and they needed jobs to be filled that the average American citizens really didn't want to do, and those jobs still exist today. And they paid the immigrants way less than they would have to pay an American citizen. So now if they're sending all of the immigrants back, who's going to replace that workforce?
Yeah.
And we know that America was built on a slave economy.
Yeah.
It was based on an economy where you have to have people working for free or little to free. And the immigrants have been fulfilling that role, but if they're getting rid of them, then where they're going to pivot to? And this is where the new crime bill comes in. So if they eliminate those illegal immigrants, then they're going to be looking at criminalizing our people again and filling that gap that I just talked about,
Right.
where we went from 12,000 to 6,000 inmates. So they're going to want to recriminalize our people, and we got to be watching out for that.
Right, because a lot of the prisons have been prioritized, and so that's another issue. If you prioritize a prison, you gonna want to fill it up.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's another issue.
Well, you mean privatize. They privatize in the prisons, which
Right.
means that it's for profit, prison for
Right.
profit. And that is, many of the private prisons, they actually sign contracts with the government that if they build a private prison in your state, that you got to guarantee that the prison stay filled, right? Which is just a bad business deal. But what's even more scarier, again, I heard our president talk about establishing partnerships with South American countries that will take our prisoners, because he's going beyond. He's saying the private prisons are too expensive. So he's looking to really send them down to South America and have them warehouse the prisoners, basically selling our people back into slavery for profit. And so we have to really get ahead of this and get out there with our people and let them know crime does not pay us. It does pay, but it don't pay us. It pays the corporations,
right.
that are benefiting off of our misery.
So how do we stop people from even like getting in those situations to begin with before they even get into the system? Like, how do we keep our people in the communities, engaged in the communities, learning or just getting involved? Like, how do we keep people away from crime and like drugs? It's like it's such an ongoing battle. It's like it's been going on for decades. It's just like
No doubt. I mean, we need all hands on deck.
Yeah, man.
Each one teach one. We have to, with our people, the Bible says, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge.
Yep.
Right? And so what our people in our community are lacking that knowledge of self. And absent of that knowledge of self, we suffer from a low self-esteem, right? And we have to understand that our communities are being set up for destruction,
Yeah.
right? And so a culture has been promoted and is being marketed to our people. We're being, the gang culture, the thug culture, even the killer culture is being literally marketed to our people through the rappers and others. And I'm not blaming the rappers like if they're the end all be all of all the violence, but I'm just saying that they are the face, they are the marketing ploy when they're promoting this gangster lifestyle. And you see them with the diamonds and the ice and knots of money and promoting this gangster lifestyle. And they have become like the Pied Pipers that are young people in the community who want to escape poverty, who want to escape the ghetto, who want to escape their misery. They can look at another young black man that look like them, that's looking like he's rich and successful, but really that's an illusion, right? Because that lifestyle has a very short shelf life. Many of the drill rappers, don't even live a couple of years, right? And those that don't get killed in the music end up in the federal prisons, because now the trend is through the drill rap is to rap about crime that you've committed. So a lot of these folks now want to brag about killing people, and it's like the killer, the shooter, is glorified in the culture that's being marketed to our people. So how do we combat that? Each one teach one. We need all the real ones to stand up. And this is what I tell the brothers that I minister to in the prisons. We got to stand up, because many of those brothers, they lived that life. They were the gangster. They were the drug dealer. They were that dude, and they know they've lived and understood that it's not as glamorous as it's made out to be. That it's more pain than glory. And at the end of the day, it's not worth it. So those brothers have to stand up, and they got to speak out, and we have to mentor our young people. We as a community have to, there's a lot that we have to do, right? And so part of it is we have to control the education, because, and I'll say this and I'll leave it here, because I know I tend to be long-winded with a question. I start to go almost
I just didn't even know you knew about drill music. I was just like, what does brother know about drill music?
Oh, no.
I said he tapped in. He knows exactly what the community doing.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's my duty to stay tapped in, man. I stay connected,
But you're right about that, definitely. For at least for the Boston wave, that definitely has taken over, like, mainly parts of Roxbury, Mattapan, and, like, even, like, some subsections of Dorchester, like, that whole music scene, I would say, like, maybe when you guys were growing up, y'all had, like, Bobby Brown and New Edition, the music vibe a little bit different, what I'm saying? Y'all still had a little bit of, like, Gangstar. I don't know if you guys knew about Gangstar, but they from Boston too. But y'all had a little bit of both out here, but, like, the drill scene now, like you said, it's just it's definitely, like, taking over in a negative light, and it's like making, like, little children think, like, oh, it's good to put on, like, a mask and start robbing stores, harassing people. You start seeing on the news, you start looking at, like, Boston comments, like, people going down the street and, like, they're getting jumped by, like, groups of kids. Like, it's crazy out here now, thinking that it's cool when, like, it's not doing anything for you, for your longevity of your career. You're not getting no money out of that. You're not putting yourself on, or your people or your family. Like, it's just bringing down your reputation, and just, like, what you can. Opportunities are closing. Doors are closing with, like, that kind of lifestyle, as you say. There's only two options, either a box or, like...
A box, right?
Right.
Either a box under the ground or a box
above.
upstate.
Yeah, that's real, brother.
You can end up in the box, and it's sad because, our young people don't have the wherewithal, because they haven't lived long enough to really understand fully, right? And this is why it's like it takes the OGs, it takes those that have lived through it, right? We gotta raise our voice, and there are a lot of brothers that are doing that. I think one of the things that we got to do is accentuate the positive, right? I think sometimes, we only focus on the negative, then we don't see the great work that is done. But I know a lot of brothers that have come home that are actually doing great work.
That's real.
Brothers that are going from liabilities to assets, that are now speaking out there, and it's a lot of brothers that were in prison, some brothers that are still in prison, right? That have actually been leading the criminal justice reform movement, right? Yeah. So we got to talk about that, and in truth, we know that the violence, as bad as things are, like, we know that it was way worse. Right, so a lot of great work has been done, and it has changed. For me, though, I see the danger on the horizon, and so we have to continue to raise our voices and not rock ourselves to sleep and think that it's over, because, like you said, we know if you're close to the concrete and you got your finger on the pulse, you see the thinking of our young people, and it's just inevitable where that's going. So we really have to do a great work to continue to mentor our young people, to educate them about their history. And our history is so vast, right? And
we're so much more than just, like, rappers or, like, gangsters, like, kings and queens,
Absolutely.
And inventors, creators. That's what we are. We're creators,
Absolutely.
And so we have created a lot of stuff, but do we get the credit for it? No. But we keep on, we're resilient, like we like baby kids. We don't die, we multiply.
That's right. That's right. Well, and we got to tell our own story, right?
That's right.
So I want us as a people to get away from looking at our oppressor, right? To be able to tell our story, right? We have to tell our own story. They never gonna acknowledge us, but we shouldn't even expect that, right? But we have to get busy telling our own stories, and educating our own people about what's going on. And as long as we do that, then we know that's real, because the oppressor is never going to acknowledge that. They don't ever want us to know how great we are. They know how great we are.
Yeah.
They know how great
And
we
they're
are.
trying to whitewash us out of the books, out the history. I mean,
Absolutely.
It just is it's ridiculous. It's like they want us to be slaves forever.
Of course.
You know, but God said no. You know, they're not going to be slaves forever.
That's real.
That's right.
And it bothers me to see all these young folks out here not really having a place, you know, to really like lay their head. There's so many young folks that don't go couch surfing. You know, there's so many youth out there that don't have a real home, come from dysfunctional homes, and you know, some of them they press their way to school. Some of our kids are homeless. You know, how do you're homeless and you have to go to school, you know, and things may not be right with you, and you may not have gotten anything to eat, and the first thing they want to do is send you to the principal's office, you know. I mean, there's so much that we need and that we could do if the people in power would listen to us. You know, they don't want to hear what we have to say. You know, they want to do their own thing, you know, which is just making it worse for us.
What do you say, Priscilla? You say we are the people?
We are the people, and we have the power.
Right. So we have the power, right?
That's right.
So again, we got to look beyond, you know, those so-called in leadership, right? The power starts with us.
That's right.
And this is why we can't abdicate our responsibility as a people, as a community. We have to come together. We have to organize. We have to unify. We have to be proactive. We can't just be reactive.
That's right.
I think a lot of times the problems that we deal with is because we're reactionary. And the reason why we're reactionary is because we're not being proactive. We're not thinking ahead. We're not coming together. We're not strategizing and planning and building. But when something happens that ill affects us, then we want to cry foul and we want to look at the leadership. But if we were being proactive and we was organizing, right, then we could determine who the leadership is.
That's right.
Right, and we can hold the leadership accountable. We'll know who's in office, and we'll be able to hold them accountable because we're the ones that put them in office. And if they don't do what they're supposed to do, then we can get them out of office. But you know, that's what I want to see us in Boston, you know, really focus on as a community, is us coming together and let's strategize. Let's be proactive. Let's
That's
not be
right.
reactionary. We're always reacting to stuff. But you know, in order to be to be proactive, it requires coming together, right? When it's not a crisis. Right. And a lot of times when it's not a crisis and things seem to be okay, if you're not in trouble, then
everything's all right.
Everything's
Yeah,
all right.
it's
And we caring about is partying and BSing and whatnot. And,
Right, it's deeper than that.
Right. So it requires a level of commitment over a protracted period of time to plan and work to change our community. Right. Other communities who are thriving, even if we look at the opposition, if we look at those, you know, let's look at like the MAGA, right? They didn't sleep, they didn't rest, right? They've been relentless, right, to get their man back in office,
They
right?
did it too.
And so like we have to be just as relentless in wanting to take control of our community, empower ourselves, empower our community, and create the kind of community that will produce a different outcome. We have to control our own education. We have to educate our children. We got to instill in them knowledge of self. We got to instill in them pride and dignity. And if we pour into them as a community, not in a reactionary way, you know, because one of the tragedies that I realized as being a chaplain, again, I said I've spoken to the most violent people in our state. Facts, right? Their sentence and where I met them, right, dictates and proves that these are in fact the most violent people in our state, in our city. But I've had the pleasure to be in those cells, right, to be in the DDU, the Department Disciplinary Unit, or be in the maximum security prison and walk and meet with these brothers and being able to share with them knowledge of self, you know, seeing that spark of life come on in them, seeing that spark of intellect come on in them. And a lot of brothers, unfortunately or fortunately, you know, go to jail to get knowledge of self. And when they get knowledge of self, then that sparks the transformation. What I would always think about as I seen this thing play out is it's so sad that our people got to go to jail in order to get the knowledge. Why can't we create institutions and even in our schools and programs out here that we can get our young people together and give them that knowledge of self, right? That they can have as they growing up that will prevent them from wanting to go in jail in the first place. And I'm gonna say, that's what prevented me. I came to the Nation of Islam. I was, for all intents and purposes, a juvenile delinquent. I grew up like most of us grew up. I'm the youngest child in a family of 8. I had 5 older brothers, 2 older sisters. I'm the youngest. And my mom was a single mother trying to raise 8 children in the hood by herself. Needless to say, we was in the streets heavy. I was in the streets from a young age. And it was only by the grace of God, through the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that kind of stopped me in my tracks, right? And I thank Allah for that. I thank God that I was able to receive that information that literally stopped me right when I was on the brink of a cliff and falling over. And so our young people need access to this information, because if you have a different perspective of who you are, right, then it'll change what you do with yourself. See, we're being taught that we're nothing but gangsters, dogs. Our young people want to be a dog. I tell the brother, why you want to be a dog? A dog get put in the kennel, right? A dog got a master. But in our community, a lot of young people, that's what they want. I want to be a dog. I want to be an ill N-word. You know what I mean? I'm a gangster. I'm a thug. Or I'm a killer. And these are the images. But the only reason why you would want to be a dog, the N-word, a killer, a gangster, is because you don't really know who you really are. Because once you know who you really are, and you really know that and understand that you are the original man, you come from the original people, you come from the people that invented mathematics, that you come from the people that invented literature, that invented all of the sciences, astrology, philosophy, theology. We come from descendants of those that build the pyramids and other civilizations. When you really know that, and you can see people like yourself that have done great things, and you see the great civilizations, you won't settle for being no dog. What I look like wanting to be a dog, right? So we have to really give our people, and the school systems is really not set up to really teach our people this unapologetic, information, this unapologetically black conscious knowledge, right? So when we're working within the system, we have to tippy-toe around, right? And we see now that even with critical race theory and those that are, taking an academic look at the role that race played in America, even that, there's pushback against that, right? And so they're getting rid of critical race theory. They don't want DEI. And notice I keep saying they, right? But as long as we keep relying on they, and we don't take the responsibility to do and build our own reality. See, when we build our own reality, we don't have to tiptoe around unapologetically black consciousness and our history and who we are. And that's the medicine that our people need. We don't need this watered down, we only going to teach the black history that slave master,
slavery,
that the slave master is comfortable with. There's certain aspects of black history that they're comfortable with you knowing, right? And if that's the only thing we're gonna teach our people and not give them the raw, real, unfiltered, uncut, unapologetically black consciousness that's gonna spark that intellect in that young brother to let them know you're not a gangster, you are made in the image and likeness of a God. That's from the Bible.
Africans was already coming to America long before the colonials had came to America.
Facts.
That's just, there's things they just don't want us to learn in schools, because even to this day it still just starts as slavery, when they could have easily we're always pulling out these dinosaur bones and all this other stuff. They know the history.
Yes, sir.
We're looking at dinosaur bones from billions of years ago or whatever, so it's just they know what happened 500, 600, 800 years ago, if we're talking billions of years ago, research.
So one of the things that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave us after the Million Man March in the 10th anniversary of the Millions More movement, he called for us to establish 9 ministries that would help to address the needs of our people. One of those ministries was the Ministry of Education. So imagine if we can gather all of our black educators, right? Or maybe not all, because you're never going to get all, but if we can get a cohort of black educators, we have black principals, we have black teachers, We have blacks in every profession. If we can just come together, not because it's your job and you're 9 to 5, right? And that's the thing. A lot of times we only working when we working for our job, right? But we have to put in work for our community,
Right.
and if we invest the time to come together, then and we establish a ministry of education and we pull our educators together, then maybe we can develop and establish an independent black school, right? And we could do that right here in Boston, where again we can tell them and teach them, Wes, what you're talking about, right? Where we can control the curriculum and we can go after our people. We can do it if we would unite, right?
That's right.
And so this is what we need to do. We need to unite. We need to come together. We need to think outside the box. And we have to understand the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we must do for ourselves.
Oh, that's right. We need to be in collaboration and not competition.
Absolutely.
You know, and so I really appreciate you, Minister Randy, for dropping us these nuggets. You know, I love listening to you because I believe you speak truth to power, and you're right. I mean, that's why I started the Marcus Anthony Hall Educational Institute, so we could teach our young folks the real deal, the real story, their real history, you know.
That's right.
Because they don't get it. They don't get it in school. I mean, some of our kids can't even get past the 3rd grade. That doesn't make any sense.
That's
you know?
right.
And so I remember one time Dr. Umar Johnson was here, and he was like, we need to start our own home schools. You know, like if you're a math teacher, then the kids come to you on Monday. If you're a reading teacher, then they come to you on Tuesday. If you do social science, Wednesday. You know, and that can happen. It's just, I think that we're kind of like moving in different directions because there's so much going on. A lot of us don't know what's going on, and some of us are listening to the wrong people. And so we just have to, it's a struggle. You know, my friend Makia, God rest her soul, she used to say, it's a struggle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep them going under. I mean, and that is true. I know it's a song. I can't remember the song, but
it's
the
message.
Yeah.
Grandmaster Flash.
Yeah. See,
Fire.
But I mean, if we, the Bible tells us, like you said, our people perish for lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
And some people don't want to hear it. You know, they
That's
just
right.
think that, we don't know what we're talking about, But I know I'm an OG now. Me and Pastor, we're OGs.
For sure.
But y'all are still young,
For sure.
Like Wes. That's why I grabbed Wes. 'Cause I'm telling you, he's amazing. He really is amazing. I'm blessed to have him working with me. 'Cause
Absolutely.
I need someone young.
Yeah.
They got them young legs. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you said something. You hit it right on the head. We have to collaborate and not compete. And I think that's a big problem that we have in our community is that, we don't want to collaborate, right? We see each other as competition.
Yeah.
And so we have to get over that that mentality where we feel like somebody's success is just to our demise.
Yeah,
Exactly.
We should celebrate our
Yes.
brothers and sisters' success.
Thank
if they're
you.
successful,
Yep.
salute that.
That's
Now,
right.
let me say this. None of us are perfect.
That's right.
So, someone that's being successful, we could always find fault, right? We could find fault with anybody, right? Because none of us are perfect, right? And I think in the Bible it talks about all of our righteousness are as filthy rags.
That's right.
Before the Lord. So ain't none of us righteous.
Yeah.
So, but if we are filled with that, I'll say self-hatred,
Yeah.
right? But if I see my brother shining and I get envious and I get jealous because he's shining, and I say, well, man, that Negro, he ain't perfect. Look at his shoes; they not shined. Or look at he's splitting his verbs. He can't even speak well. Or he used to be an inmate. Or we could always find something.
That's right.
But
That's
instead
right.
of trying to focus on the negative,
Yeah,
right?
focus on the positive.
Look at what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at all the stuff he was doing before.
The scripture says he looked beyond
Our
my faults
and
saw
needs.
my need.
That's right.
And we have a need in our community for unity.
That's right.
So look beyond the fault, right? And we're gonna work it out. We're gonna work out the faults.
I mean, we can agree to disagree, but as long as we come together on one accord, we can make a lot of things happen.
Right.
You
It's
know,
power.
it's just I'm telling you,
There's power in
we the
unity.
people, we got
We
the
got
power.
the power. Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, every day, you know, because I'm out and about every day, and so I see things, and I see there's a lot of things that we can change, and it doesn't take a whole lot either. You know, it's just of just bringing our minds together. Like when we had the local organizing committee after 2020, Justice or Else,
That's
right?
right.
2015, Justice or Else, and we were doing good. It was being built, and then all of a sudden, I don't know. I mean, I know you all still got the ministries going on, but
Yes.
it just seems like we need to wake up. We really do, because the signs are here. You know, we see the things that are going on, the weather. You know, I mean,
I'll say
snow in
this.
Texas and Florida.
I'll say this is, you know, and to our audience, our people are going to wake up because it is God's will, right? It is God's will today that we, particularly as black people, this our time now, right? We suffered 400 years of enslavement, and the scripture says that after the 400 years of the seed of Abraham being in bondage in a strange land that is not theirs, being treated cruel, that God will come and he would judge the nation that they have served, and they will come out having great substance. That's Genesis 15 and 13. So it is written that we have greatness. This is our time. But here's the thing. In the Bible, in the book of Ezekiel, it talks about the dry bones in the valley. And God sent to them the Son of Man to prophesy unto the bones. And whenever the Son of Man will prophesy, the bones will shake, rattle, and roll, but they refused to get up. And so the Son of Man went back to the God and said, I've been prophesying to the bones, and they're not getting up. And God said, well, don't prophesy to the bones no more. Prophesy unto the winds. And when he began to prophesy unto the winds blew on those bones, and they stood up, an exceedingly great army. And so I would submit that we have a man of God in our midst who has been like a son of man, who has been prophesying to us, calling us for the Million Man March, the Millions More movement, the Justice or Else. He's been giving us the 9 ministries. He's been prophesying unto us. And whenever the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan comes to a city, the people shake, rattle, and roll. We come out in the numbers, but we refuse to unite and come up and stand an exceedingly great army. So, you know, the God has told the minister, now don't prophesy unto them, no more prophesy unto the winds. And now the winds are beginning to blow. And so I'm saying that we're gonna be beaten to, we're gonna have to face the chastisement before we decide that we got to get up. And we see the winds now blowing with the Trump administration and the elimination of DEI and starting a new crime bill. As we begin to see that the enemy is the enemy, he's still the enemy. I remember after President Barack Obama, folks were talking about we living in some post-racial America. Well, what do you think about what's happening now?
Right.
He hasn't changed. And so we have to do what we have to do, which is what we've been told all along. Unite among ourselves, pull our resources, and do for self. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, do for yourself before you are forced to do it. We're being forced to now, so we're going to have to do it.
That's right.
And, you know, despite all that, it's like there's still some of our people just like not seeing like all these attacks onto our communities that's happening from the administration, from the government. Like some people are like stagnant or even just like content within their situations, or maybe they're not even content. Maybe they just don't know how to get out of their situation, so they just found comfort with being in a hole because they feel as if there's no way to get out, you know?
Yeah.
I've been there. Depression.
Yeah.
It's real. You know. After I lost my children, it's hard sometimes to come up out of depression. And if it hadn't been for God who was on my side, I don't know where I would be right now. You know.
Yeah.
And so, just want to put a plug in for my book. I look back and wonder how I got over.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, God, and I know God is real, you know, because I know what what I went through and how He brought me out, you know.
Yes.
And I'm thankful and grateful, and I'm thankful and grateful to be able to work with you guys, you know, because that's what we need. We need to come together, you know. It doesn't matter if you're Christian or Muslim or Jewish or whatever. It's us. It's about us, you know.
Right.
And I fear no man. The only person I fear is God.
Yeah.
Because God didn't give us a spirit of fear. He gave us power, love, and a sound mind. And if we show the love and if we really come together seriously, we can do anything we want to do, and that's what I'm about. I'm about my people, and because we are the people and we have the power.
That's right.
Yeah, that's real. They always trying to break us up into different groups.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
they
you're
s-
Christian, you're
yeah.
Muslim, or oh, yeah, you're Nigerian, you're Jamaican, you're Trini. But then when the cop sees you at the end of the day, he don't see no Muslim, he don't see no Christian, he don't see no Trini, he don't
He
see no
just see
Jamaican.
us
He just see
color.
a black person. He don't see none of that. You know. So at the end of the day, we just gotta come together. You know, we're just all. We're all in this. We're all in the same boat together.
That's
you know,
right.
going through it. You know.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you know, we've been socially engineered to hate on each other.
Yeah.
You know,
Jealousy,
they know that-
envy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
light skin versus
Ooh.
dark skin. All these like they try to like always have us fighting on
That's-
like
that's socially
distracted.
engineered.
It happens distracted on like all these silly topics. You
they
know?
during slavery they took all of our differences and they amplified them, and they put the dark skinned slave against the light skinned slave. They put the woman against the male. They put the young against the old. They separate us by plantation size.
Yeah,
That's
the
the Willie
families,
Lynch
Whether
syndrome.
you was in the field, whether you was in the house, right? And so this type of training and indoctrination that took place for over 300 years
Yep.
has now been embedded in us. So we still plagued with that divisiveness today. So we have to work hard to overcome those differences because it's really among us. We don't